John Palino, and welcome to the show where we get behind the scenes in the restaurant business and talk to chefs and restaurateurs and learn a little bit about what really happens. So today we have Euan on board. Euan, where are you working now?
I work at Willams Eatery, down in Wynyard.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well-known place.
Well, yeah, we just won the Best Cafe in Auckland in the Metro Awards.
That's
so.
Fantastic.
And yeah, very proud of everybody there.
Congratulations. How long have you been there?
I've been there for a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started there as a chef de partie and then became head chef pretty quickly after that, actually. I started there about last October and then, yeah, it just kind of fell into place. The head chef left and I stepped up.
Fantastic, and look what happened.
I know. I mean, I'm very proud of myself, but more
Absolutely.
importantly, the whole team there.
Of course.
They're just great people to work with.
So yeah, how many covers would you say you do a day?
I mean, obviously depends on the day.
Yeah, of course.
To give you an idea of like a busy day, like a Sunday or Saturday brunch service, I would say about 200.
Wow.
So yeah, we sit about 100 people. That's including our outdoor seating.
Yeah.
So yeah, a busy one would be about 200. And these past few weekends have been full on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's really good for, people don't know that for Auckland. That's good. That's a lot of customers.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And we have a lot of restaurants and a lot of
Yeah.
choices, and
Yeah.
to do that number is big.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right.
Yeah, fantastic. It's not like New York.
No, I couldn't even imagine.
No, not at all. Or even, I remember the Viaduct. I used to have a restaurant in the Viaduct, and during the America's Cup, we were doing 550 covers a day in an 80-seat restaurant.
Was that for lunch and dinner?
Yeah, lunch and dinner.
Wow.
About 550 in an 80-seat restaurant.
How big was the kitchen?
Small. It was a steakhouse, so we were just doing steaks and stuff.
Right.
So it was good. Yeah, it was that was good times.
Must have been busy times.
I remember when I first moved here years ago, like 24, 25 years ago, the restaurant business was quite different.
Yeah.
It was simple, white tablecloth, very basic, not much theater, not much character. But back then, the restaurants were expensive.
Yeah.
And that's changed quite a bit. I mean, the prices actually haven't even changed that much. Like your good restaurants back then were charging $20, $30.
Yeah.
And now they're still charging $10, $20, $30,
Yeah.
Which is making it harder for a business, to make money.
Definitely. I guess back then, like, Auckland restaurants didn't really have their own identity as much as they do now.
Yep.
As the culture's changed and everybody's becoming more aware of like eating good food and so people can explore more what they really want to do.
Yeah. The diversity in culture here is really what's helped our food industry and our food business.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, there's so many great restaurants around from so many different cultures. And it's, it's unique. It's not every major city has that, which is, I find it definitely influences my food because I'll go out to eat and I'll be like, I'll have an Indian meal or a Chinese meal or something, whatever. And I'm like, man, I want to make that. I want to do that. And, that's kind of, it comes out of my food as well, especially in the menus I do. Like, I wouldn't say I do Italian food or European food. Like, if I think it's nice, I'll put it on the menu.
So what do you like cooking? What's your favorite things to cook?
My favorite things to cook. I really love cooking fish. I love cooking fish. Pasta, just the whole, process of making pasta is amazing. Do you make your own pasta? Yeah, so we make our own pasta at Willams. We've been doing pasta nights since I think April, and they just took off. Like all of winter, we were doing 80 covers a night, easily. So yeah, we make a lot of pasta. It's quite exhausting. You get a sore arm, Yeah. Yeah. We didn't get. We got an electric pasta roller once, but it just didn't work. It was like brand new and just broke straight away. So, so we're just cranking it by hand.
So tell me about these tattoos.
I mean, there's not that much to tell.
No.
They're just kind of, flash, random tattoos that they have up on the wall. I guess this one is probably the most significant to me. This was my cat that I grew up with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her name was Chris, but she just recently passed away. But Yeah, like that is the only one with any significance. Everything else is just.
And what's that?
Just
What's that a bottle of?
Oh, this Kaitaia Fire.
Fire, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I do love Kaitaia Fire. It's the best hot sauce in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
My buddy's got, he loves chili peppers.
Yeah.
In his cupboard, he's got like a frying pan with the chili peppers sitting there and a little oil, and he's like, every once in a while, he heats them up and he eats them.
Where he just has the pan in his
yeah,
cupboard.
yeah, he leaves it there.
Really?
And he's got a chili pepper tattoo on his ankle.
Yeah.
God, now he can't eat them.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, obviously I go to pizza because I love pizza, but
Wow.
the rest of them are just...
That's interesting, you know, putting food on your...
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'll get some more food-related ones at some point. But
So where were you born?
I was born in Palmerston North
Yep.
in 1992. And, I mean, I can't remember living there. And then my parents and I and my sister, we moved up to Auckland, I think about a year later. And then I grew up in Titirangi.
And when did you start in the food business?
It would have been 2011. Yeah. So a year after I graduated high school, or didn't graduate high school. A year
Really?
after I finished high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What made you go into the food business?
Well, you know, not graduating high school had something to do with it. I had no real prospects at the time. I was on Waiheke picking grapes at a vineyard there, which is great, but you know, the grape season doesn't last forever, so you can't do that forever. And I don't know, I wanted to get into like a trade or something like that because, you know, academic study was never my strong point. And yeah, I would cook meals at home. I was, you know, I was baking from like a younger age, like in intermediate school when I was like 11, 12, I was baking and just, I always enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just like a logical step really. My dad just said to me like, why don't you go to cooking school? And I was like, yeah, okay, I will. And it was great, I loved it. I went to AUT, did a diploma in culinary arts there, which is 2 years long. I met some of my best friends in the whole world, and it was just such a wonderful experience. Like the lecturers that they have there and the tutors, all like amazing chefs that have worked around the world and just have so much knowledge to pass on. So yeah, it was amazing. Like every day, we worked 4 days a week there. We went to school 4 days a week, and it was 4 practical lessons a week and 2 theory lessons. And it was just like hanging out with your best friends and cooking and learning. That was it, like we were learning so much. I just remember like probably the first time in my life just being so engaged in something. Because at school, like I was never very engaged because it just didn't stimulate me. But when I got to cooking, it was like this new world of like, wow, I'm so interested. So yeah, it was amazing.
So who cooked at home? Your mom?
My mum and dad. My dad's more into his cooking than my mum is.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have any recipes that you do today that you got from your family?
I actually have one on the menu at the moment at Willams, actually 2. My mum always used to make this like avocado pasta salad with this basil and sour cream dressing, and it was like one of our like family's favorite meals. It's just so delicious. And I've taken that idea and put it with the market fish at the moment. But it's like buttermilk and basil. I mean, it's just yum.
Nice.
It's just fresh, green, like spring, you know?
Absolutely.
Really, like it's heavy, but it's light, and it's beautiful.
You know, it's always special that when you put a recipe on that belongs to your family.
Yeah.
I had a restaurant in Mount Albert called Sal Rose, which is named after my parents.
I know of it.
Sal, that's right, you live in Mount Albert, don't you?
Yeah, do.
Sal and Rose, my parents.
Yeah.
And most of the recipes, almost all the recipes, especially the pastas, were my mom's recipes.
Right.
I have them in a box, you know, all her handwritten recipes and all. And
That's amazing.
It is, you know, and how she showed me how to make the meatballs.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, quite a few years ago, my mom passed away, but I was there and I was making meatballs with her, and I said, you know, Ma, I can't seem to get this right. My meatballs always seem to be a little bit tougher than yours. Yours are soft. I says, you left something out, didn't you? and she finally told me that little thing that you had to do, which changed it for me.
That's funny, because I do the same thing with my recipe book as well. Like, I'll explain a recipe to somebody and let them know, but when I write it down, I'll miss something out.
That was funny. I remember that. And people loved it, you know. And when people know that these recipes have meaning to you,
absolutely,
you know, your customers just eat it up. You know, they just literally, you know, they love it, you know. And you know, we had the best meatballs around. Spaghetti and meatballs, my favorite dish, and all. And other ones as well. And a lot of chefs, you know, you find that have, you know, that one little special thing that somebody taught them, and they just, you know, bring it along and make it work. And you're proud of it, and it feels good. And that's what part of being in the restaurant business is about. You know?
And you get to, like, you know, pass that on to so many other people, and that's what food's all about, like passing on great experiences.
So you went overseas as well?
Yes.
Tell us
lived
about
in Melbourne. I lived in Melbourne for about 9 months, which was awesome. I really loved it. I worked at a restaurant there called Huxtable, which is closed now. Closed at the start of 2016. But yeah, I worked there, and that was great. It was just such a great environment, really professional, really fun, great group of people. And then from there I went to London, which was not as enjoyable.
Really?
No, a lot harsher in probably every way. Like the work, especially the weather. Like, there would be weeks where I wouldn't see daylight for 5 days out of the week, and it was, you know, it brings you down, because, you know, I'd get to work at 6:30 and I'd finish at 4, and it's in winter, it's dark there at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Ooh.
So yeah, you're just in a kitchen with fluorescent lights on all day. Like, it's it's challenging to, like, your mental health, I find. And I found that with a lot of people I work with as well, you know.
How about the work atmosphere compared to New Zealand?
The first place I worked was, I guess, quite similar. It was like an Australian cafe, so it wasn't too different. But then I went to another place, and I found it to be better, like more professional, and I learned so much about food there. I learned so much about cooking, and like I learned how to be really seasonal with my food, and I met like one of my best friends there as well. And then I ended up following him to another place, to a hotel, the Bethnal Green Town Hall Hotel. And I worked in a restaurant there called The Corner Room, where he was the head chef, and me and another good friend of mine, we were the sous chefs. And that was, as a working environment, probably my favorite. It was like, we were all so close, really good friends, got along so well, and just, we all loved food. And just, the menu would change every day. Like, we'd print new menus every day. And, you know, you get something in, you do it, sell it, cool, that's it. Don't do it again, you know? Like, as soon as you get bored of something, just put something else on the menu. And that was really cool, because I'd never experienced that before. I worked in places where things just stay on the menu for years at a time. And, you know, that's no way to live. There's no way to cook. You don't, you know, how can you be stimulated by something that you do?
I used to have a restaurant in the Viaduct, and every time I walk past that restaurant, I look at the menu, I go, that's the same menu I had 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like, and I get that people love having, you know, famous dishes and stuff like that, and people come back for that, but I think from a cook's perspective, you got to keep it changing all the time. And,
absolutely.
You know,
yeah,
just
definitely.
to be able to challenge yourself as well. Like, that's really important.
Of course. I mean, everything we do in this business, you do it because we love it.
Absolutely. You know.
We're going to take a break right now, and
Sure.
we'll be back with Euan, and we'll find out a little bit more what happens behind the scenes. Welcome back, and we're here with Euan, and let's see. So you know you worked in England, and you said that was a bit tough.
Yes.
What was tough about England?
I guess, like, work-wise, I guess that was probably the best thing about it. Stimulating and exciting. The tough thing about being in London for me was my lifestyle. I definitely partied too much. being away from home, you know, I didn't have any real friends over there, only a couple, like, you know, but here it's easy, you got friends everywhere, which just makes it easier. Having a family close and all that. So when you remove all of that and you're in this big place basically on your own, you know, it's pretty scary. And like I've suffered from anxiety like my whole life, and like I had never addressed it when I was living there. I've addressed it now and, you know, had therapy and, you know, on medication, and it's all, you know, I'm definitely much better. But when I was there, no, I would party and just make myself feel worse, and, you know, it was just, yeah, it was quite a toxic cycle for me.
Wow. And,
Yeah.
and is that different than, say, Melbourne and New Zealand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I was in Melbourne, I lived with my best friend, so, like, who I met in cooking school, actually. So we lived there together, and I had a much better social life. It wasn't just, you know, work party.
Yeah.
So.
Did you read Bourdain's book, Kitchen Confidential?
Yeah, I think I read that in like my first week of cooking school. All of my tutors were telling me. And at the time, you know, you read all of that stuff and you're like, whoa, that's so cool. I want to be a rock star chef. And then, you know, you go to London and you start trying to, you know, if you fall down that slope, it's bad. It's a slippery slope.
You know, you watch a lot of the movies about chefs and all. Yeah, there's a big drinking problem. And,
Absolutely.
And then drugs. And, you know, I mean, the restaurants that I ran in New York and in New Jersey and all, you know, fortunately, I never drank.
Right.
I grew up in the restaurant business, and
Yeah.
I saw, as a young age, at 13 years old, I saw drunk people.
Right.
And I didn't like the way it looked.
Yeah.
So somehow, you know, when I reached 18 and when I was able to drink, I didn't like how it looked, and I just really never drank.
Right.
Very little, and thank God, because you know, you read Kitchen Confidential, and it's all about drugs and, and drinking, and and you know, the funny thing is, of course, if chefs show up a bit hungover from the night before here in New Zealand, the bosses get really angry, don't they?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I look at them, I go, well, like, I give you a lot of credit for showing up.
I mean, I've worked, I mean, I think it varies with who you turn up with. I've worked with a lot of bosses that, like, as long as you're there and you can do your job, I don't care if you're hungover. But, you know,
well, over here, I think we're worried about, oh, you're going to get hurt. You know?
Yeah, well, that's true. I've also had instances where I've had chefs turn up and being so hungover that they can't work, and, you know, that's when you get pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Melbourne was cool then.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, pretty much like here.
Yeah, basically, and also just being so close to home. If anything happens, you know, it's a 3-hour flight or whatever. Right. You can easily jump back across.
So being in a busy restaurant, how's the anxiety for you now? Is it?
Now it's fine. I mean, I think the hardest part was coming up, like in restaurants and stuff, as a younger chef, and like not really having a grasp on like my anxiety or anything like that, and not really understanding it. That it was like a pretty hard environment to be in. But you know, I've almost been cooking for 10 years now, so it's the restaurant busy kitchen environment is normal to me, and I guess I've just, you know, made healthier choices than partying. You know,
yeah, but I mean, you are in charge, so
yeah, exactly. And like with, you know, being in charge has its own new waves of anxiety.
Well, good on you.
You got to do a good job.
I'm glad to hear that it's all working out for you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's a good feeling, you know, to get this far. I mean, there was countless times I wanted to give up cooking. Just, I didn't like the hours. I didn't, you know, I didn't feel safe. Wasn't happy. But for some reason, I just kept doing it. And I think, funnily enough, even though London was really hard for me, the place that I really found my passion was there. And that was because of the food I was doing and the restaurants I was in. So, yeah, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be in this business, you have to be passionate. There's no way you
100%.
can last unless you really love what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be excited. And it's not even like every day. You know, some days you're going to not want to be there, and that's okay. But you got to be overall excited and thinking and challenging yourself, and, you know, almost like, you know, you want to study what's going on as well with the rest of the world, which I think Instagram's been like such a valuable tool for that as well, because you can just follow chefs that you think are cool, and you know, you'll get ideas that you want to try.
So, you know, people don't know that, you know, that when they go to a restaurant, you know, that the work is so hard for the chefs and the front of house that you really have to be, it's more than just a salary. It's about passion and really enjoying what we do. Because it's hard work. It's really hard work. And kitchens are very hard because you got the heat, you got the staff pressuring you because hey, where's that meal, and trying to get them all out in a hurry, and you put a lot of demands on yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, so why the hell you stay in it?
It's like, you know, if you get one of those busy nights and everything goes well, and you're like, I mean, for me, my favorite section in the kitchen is cooking, like on the pans. You got a busy night and you're on the pans and you're nailing it and everything's coming out good and everything's coming out in, you know, a good time. There's nothing like it. Like that's a high in its own. Like that is the best feeling in the world. And yeah, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And it's just, and once you, and like becoming confident in something like that. I remember when I was in cooking school, we did like 3 weeks in the restaurants at the bottom of in the building. And I was so terrified. I got put on the hotline in the first day, and I was just like, I don't know what I was doing, no idea. And now it's like second nature to me. And like going through that and learning how to cook and gaining confidence is like an amazing feeling.
So the restaurant you're working at now, should people come and say hello to you? Say, hey, where's the chef? We want to say hi.
I mean, they can, but I'm actually leaving, so because I'm, you know, I'm going back to Melbourne, so they have to get them pretty quick.
And so, what's that about?
Going back to Melbourne?
Yeah.
Just opportunity. I've been back in Auckland now for a year and a half, and I've loved it. It's been a real learning curve, especially becoming a head chef. But just ready to go to somewhere bigger, I guess. You know, I'd like to step back a bit from head chef and maybe be a sous chef again and just work on learning more techniques and different food and different styles and all of that.
Yeah, Melbourne's pretty, it's pretty cool. I always liked Melbourne, just didn't like the weather so much.
Yeah, the weather is quite extreme.
Yeah, it is extreme. I remember one day I was there and walking down the street, and it was so windy. It was like chairs were flying everywhere, but the wind was so hot.
I know. Oh,
it was
it's
like,
the worst.
I couldn't understand, like, why is the wind so hot? It was like somebody had this big blow dryer and was like going on the street.
Yeah.
Shh, you know,
Like, was it like January or something like that?
I don't remember, but it was at the time. This is probably 10 years ago. It was the hottest day in history.
Right.
You know, back then.
Yeah.
I think it's got a little bit hotter, but. Yeah. Incredible.
I'm not looking forward to that.
But the food there, it's just, you know, I remember going to one area which was all Greek.
Yeah.
And, you know, one restaurant after the other, and the meats and the desserts, and it was just beautiful, it was just delicious. And, and the culture, cafes, coffee shops, you know, a bit New Yorkish, but different, because New York's a bit different. The markets, really cool.
The markets are amazing.
Just, you know, great.
Yeah.
And not that expensive, really, at least what I remember.
Yeah, I think the only thing I remember being more expensive over there was alcohol, which is a lot more expensive.
Wow.
But yeah, I think the good thing about Melbourne is it's just, I mean, it's 4 million people compared to 1.5 here.
Yeah.
It's just got the population where food can be more experimented with, and more people are willing to try different things with their businesses. Because I guess in Auckland, you know, it's very competitive and small, so, you know, there's always a little part of, I think, business owners that like to play it safe, which is, you know, totally fair enough. You're owning a restaurant, it's a hard business, it's a hard thing to succeed in. But I guess in Melbourne, there's just the population to support people trying different things, which is, that's a big reason why I'm going.
Yeah. Do you have a job there already?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I have a few contacts and a few numbers to call. I text my old head chef the other day, and he said I could come work for him if I wanted to. So I guess I do if I want one, but I'm going to just try and really take my time and find something that's really like perfect for me.
I have a friend in Sydney that's rebuilding a restaurant. It's taking him quite a while, and is not opening up until January.
Right.
And you know, staff is hard to find.
Yeah.
The staff he has, he's already paying because he doesn't want to lose them.
Right. Really?
You know,
Wow.
and of New Zealand as well. I mean, for some reason, it's becoming really difficult to find staff.
It's really hard to find good chefs in Auckland.
Yeah.
Really
and
hard.
You know, I have a cousin who's got a couple of cafes back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he told me the same thing. Staff's really hard to find. And when I had my restaurants in New York, never had, in 2 seconds I could have staff. You know,
Really?
I have a list. Yeah, you know.
Wow.
But from what I understand now is that, you know, these young folks who, you know, used to work in restaurants, you know, to make some extra money and to just to do something,
Yeah.
no longer want to. They just want to be on the internet, becoming successful internet, you know, people.
Yeah.
It's the lives are changed, and it's becoming more and more difficult to find people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy because you know, when I opened up Sal Rose in Mount Albert, all the staff were young.
Yeah.
And they you know, they were in university. They wanted to learn, and they were amazing. I taught them, you know, I had good training manuals and really good training. And matter of fact, even some of the food critics who came in who were known for trashing restaurants were just, they said they were just overwhelmed because these young folks did it perfectly. You know?
Yeah.
But it's hard to find them today. They don't want to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, Euan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you have a
It's been
great trip over to Melbourne.
I will.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Great to have
Thank
you on
you so
board,
much.
and all the best over there.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Great.